Hello everyone, my name is Michael and welcome to episode 19 of the Worst Outtakes. I hope everyone's doing okay today and I hope you're all excited for today's episode. I know I am, so enough dawdling and let's jump straight in with what happened last time. Last time on the Worst Outcome, our group finished speaking with the Forge Domain clerics and they found out that there's a barrier around Nyland, which means their healing magics can't affect him. So what would have worked is not working and they have no clue how to get rid of it. Determining that this was magical in nature, we decided to pay a visit to the magic domain of clerics. See, maybe they had some idea of how to cure this. It was quite a distance away in the town, completely on the other side of the city. So we decided to take the Ratways, a huge sprawling underground network that consisted of several bridges from place to place and was very confusing to navigate without a proper navigator, which we did have. The Ratway was also used as a place of burial for the dead of all these citizens. After making it to the magic domain and offering a little prayer to their statue, we determined that the only way to get rid of this barrier is to kill the creature itself, this false god that did this to Nyland. So we come up with a plan and delve back into the Ratways to try and find it. After traversing around for a while, we realise we're getting nowhere. So the group splits up. Oam and Memor are going to keep looking for it. Mud and Nyland head back to the magic domain to ask one of them to scry the creature's location. Upon the successful scry, we learn that this false god has taken the form of someone in Nyland's memories. A centaur. He only knows one. That means it's disguised as Memor, and there's two Memors running around town. But which was which? That sums it up for the recap, I believe. So, moving on to what's happening this time. This time, we have a pretty interesting idea. Our dungeon master, for his campaign setting, has been making custom races to use for NPCs, and some of them he's even making stats to be playable. He intends to make quite a few, I forget the exact number, but he's asked me today to go into our little world anvil and read one. The one he wishes for me to display today is the Kreeëgol. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I do believe one or two have shown up in the episodes by now. So I'll see you on the world anvil. Alright everyone, for the people watching on YouTube, as you can see on screen, there is the world anvil that our Dungeon Masters put so much effort into. For the people listening, you don't have to worry, there aren't any pictures or anything of a Kreeëgol yet. Before I get into this properly though, the Dungeon Master has asked me to first say that he is dyslexic, so there's quite a few spelling errors, and two, that some bits and pieces of this might be changed in the future. Not too many, just a few bits and pieces. He didn't tell me what, but just to warn you, because in the YouTube video's description there will be a link to the World Anvil, so you can come and look at yourself and then have a look around everything that he's done for this, because he's put a lot of effort into this, and it would mean a lot to him if you check that out and validated the work he's done. So let's get right into this. Let's start at anatomy. The Kreeëgol have a unique anatomy that is yet to have much context. Visually, they are bipedal quadrupeds that often have 3 eyes, digits, and toes, with their skin being comprised of a cobalt blue rock. All Kreeëgol have the appearance of a round boulder of varying sizes, with the smallest of them being recorded at 4 foot tall exactly, and the tallest of them being recorded at 10 foot tall exactly. They have rather stubby legs and curved flat arms that can seam into the indentations on their body, to make their body more spherical and aerodynamic while descending or moving through the air. So, to put it simply, they're boulder people that can be very aerodynamic when they need it. Moving on to their biology and anatomy. The null chamber. The Kreeëgol's organs are all pocketed in the center of the Kreeëgol's body, being protected by some kind of wall of light glowing blue repulsing force that its body naturally produces even after death. It is assumed that its organ functions to protect the Kreeëgol's internals from feeling the inertia and g-force of quickly speeding up, and then abruptly slowing down. As it collides with the ground, some Kreeëgol have been found without this organ, and seem to need time after performing a jump. So it seems that this protects it from falling, because if it makes itself more aerodynamic, that's going to be more speed, and more speed means more damage on impact that both you and if you hit something is going to take. So definitely quite helpful for them. The Kreeëgol's stomach. The Kreegol's diet is solely reliable on minerals and have protrusions in their mouth that imitates teeth to help grind and break down their food, and a natural internal body temperature similar to what people would call a volcanic. Most metals that they digest are reduced to a liquid that sits in their bodies like a reserve. This reserve being around 6 inches deep beneath the surface of the Kreegol's body. Whenever the Kreegol would be subjected to an injury that would cause their body to crack or chip, this reserve can be used to effectively clot up the wound with the liquid material, which would rapidly cool and replace the missing space. Because of this capability, it is thought that in enough time there will be no Kreegol that look like their current original state. That's very cool. So what they eat turns into a liquid that they can use to sort of repair their body when they crack. Because from what it seems like, these creatures have a specific way of fighting, and that is launching themselves at their opponent with their aerodynamic form, and the null chamber stopping them from taking that much inertia. This also helps because if they, say, need to launch themselves a second time and the null chamber doesn't quite do it on the first, they can use what they've eaten to repair their bodies. This could also mean that they're not just stone or cobalt, they could be any sort of material, because if they eat minerals, that could be diamonds, sapphires, rubies. There's a lot of good customization here. Next up is genetics and reproduction. The Kreegol do not seem to have a way to reproduce. They are assumed to potentially conjure from somewhere in outer space. So their origins are unknown, and people specify that they literally just fell from the stars. That makes a lot of sense considering they're categorized as meteorite people. Moving on. Current info about age. Because the Kreegol as a race come from outer space, they openly log time in vastly different measurements and numerics. With the use of the tongue spell, as of recordings, the Kreegol's youngest was said to be a couple months old at the size of around 5 foot tall, and the current oldest Kreegol has yet to meet, but multiple recordings of the other Kreegol claim that the moon was the oldest Kreegol, pointing to the shards of Vox in the night sky. Others say that as far as they're aware, the oldest Kreegol is named Minnick, being said to be ancient at over 500 years old. So it seems like they lived for a long time, similarly to dwarves or elves and stuff like that. Makes sense considering they come from outer space. I do wonder what the largest size of a Kreegol is, and if it is really just the moon, which is a very funny thought to think of, that our moon is just a person. Also makes you wonder what happened if he rammed into someone like they seem to do. Moving on though, however, physical growth. The growth rate of a Kreegol seems to be subjective to their repairing behavior. When a Kreegol sustains damage and breaks their stony exterior, they use the liquid metal reserves to clot the wound, often extending or warping beyond their prior spherical small proportions. In ideal conditions, the rest of the body of the Kreegol will gradually grow to match its new proportions so that its body can remain spherical and aerodynamic. So while they do clot their wounds and repair themselves with the new metals, they always try to make themselves look at the same shape to maintain their ability to fly through the air unimpeded. Moving on, the dietary needs and habits. So the Kreegol are geovores, which means they need to eat minerals, metals, and gemstones. Because they're from space, they can't really tell the difference of certain dirts and stones. However, they do need to eat metals more than anything else, because if they don't, they are likely to experience several different kinds of sicknesses. Here's some that have been recorded. Limestone will cause their origin material to go from cobalt or matte navy blue to a pale eggshell white, constantly exhibiting extreme lethargy and brittleness. Mud, clay, or dirt will only affect the Kreegol's exterior, making it so their healing factor is significantly slowed down. Gemstones will almost immediately cause the Kreegol to throw up at extremely pressurized or searing melted versions of the gemstone. Because the forge-like internal of the Kreegol, it's assumed that the gemstones cause instant nausea for them. Okay, so they can eat everything else, but it's not beneficial. What they want the most is metal. They want to eat metal, which is understandable because it's probably better for them to make their shell out of that. Moving on to additional information. The Kreeëgol have a capacity to sense what benefits can be yielded from mineral composites using their improved eyesight. Additionally, they have a more attuned sense to gravity than most. So, that's a good ability for them to have, because being able to detect what you can get from a vein basically shows how much food am I going to have. And also, the ability to sense out the attunement of gravity is great, especially for their fighting style, which involves flinging themselves at their opponents. Because if gravity is more dense, that means they drop faster. Faster drop means, more damage on impact. Moving along, though, to the final bit, we're scrolling right back to the top, because I know what you're thinking. These things sound cool. Can I play them? And you bet he made a stat sheet for them. So we're going to go over that really quick now. If you pick a Kreeëgol as your race, your constitution increases by 2, and you may increase any other ability score of your choice by 1. So, the extra 2 constitution is going to give you some more health to help take those hits, and depending on what class you pick for him, he can really, fit that role with that extra +1. Kreeëgols range from 4 to 10 foot tall with spherical builds. Your size is medium. We heard that earlier in their body structure and their anatomy, so, I guess it depends on what age you are. Their speed is a base walking speed of 25 feet, 5 feet lower than, the other races, but that makes sense. You're a giant being of stone, you're going to be a bit slower. Metal Eater. You don't need to drink to survive, but you still need to eat. The Kreeëgol feed on metals and other minerals to satiate their hunger, and know every mineral simply just by looking at it. When you make an intelligence, history, or wisdom, survival, check, related to defining a metal or mineral, you make the check as if you had expertise, which means you add your proficiency not once, but twice. Next up, Meteoric Jump. As an action, you can jump a number of feet equal to your proficiency bonus times 10, and then if you collide with something, you can treat your collision as an attack roll, using dexterity or strength plus your proficiency bonus for the attack. If you successfully land the attack, you deal damage equal to d6 per 10 feet travelled, dealing double damage to objects and structures. This is really cool because, say, your proficiency bonus is +3, you can jump 30 feet. However, if that 30 feet jump, say, ends on a drop that's 120 feet long, you just keep on plummeting. Technically, you've jumped 150 feet, that's 15 d6 worth of damage, doubled if you're hitting an object or a structure. However, normally that would be a bad thing, because full damage will screw you over. But their final feature, you ignore full damage. This makes sense, because if they fell from space, they'd be dead without that. And we saw that earlier with the null chamber, which stops them from taking the whole force of the fall. The lifespan of a Kreeëgol is around 500 plus. No one's really seen the upper limit yet, which is, pretty good. So you can have like an old man Kreeëgol who's really wise, and then he can leap off a mountain and kill a dragon in one hit. It is really funny, though. You have to get to that high ground first, so I guess it does make sense. But that seems to be everything on the World Anvil at the moment for Kreeëgol. Honestly, they are so cool. I'm so glad I got to share these with you, and it's an amazing idea. We're now going to head back to our usual setting, and I will see you there. Thank you all for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please leave us a like and a comment, maybe even subscribe if that helped. If you want to get into contact with us more directly, however, you can find us on Instagram at TWODNDpodcast. That's right, TWODNDpodcast. However, if you don't have Instagram, you can also find us on TikTok. You can find us on Twitter. We have a Reddit, but don't go there. We've also got Spotify and a couple other places that you can listen to us on. Any sort of support is great support, and if you let us know what we could have done better, it'll also help us out a lot. I do hope that everyone enjoyed the Kreeëgol, and, let us know in the comments what you think of it. Will you be playing it or allowing it in your setting? We really want to know, so tell us. And with that, thank you very much once more, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye!